Live stream of the TA report on Memorial Day, May 29th, 2023. Hey guys, I hope you've had a great holiday. We had a nice little turnout last Monday and back-to-back Mondays now with the holiday. So it's good to have you guys back. It's good to see you. It's good to hear you.
Yeah, man, it's good to chit chat. I think. Oh man, did William O'Neill die?
Yeah.
Well, he's canceling Master.
Yep.
So does the 30-week tight no longer work since he's not alive?
I mean, I think it'll continue to work in honor of him.
Good job, market. I think I want to ask a question to you guys since we're starting off the summer and it's time to kind of reset and all that other stuff. Any part of you guys looking at charts, look at like 2022 and some of the crazy moves down, ever thought in the last 12 to 14 months that it's possible that every chart on the planet got reset? Almost every chart
on the planet got reset. Yes.
Yes, and like we're looking left to determine right, but the right is now its own set of technical views moving forward versus looking left, right? Like a lot of people are like, oh well, it's PE of 7 trillion and they can't grow anymore and all that other stuff because they keep comparing it to whatever it is. Is it quite possible that the 2022 moves were the great reset? And we are starting our own, like, I think if you look at like Elliott wave theory, which I don't really follow that much, or the other kind of wave theories is that after stage 5, which was the end of 2021, where the leadership was narrow and all that other stuff, while everything else was getting hammered, you have the reset wave, right? Where everything just gets smoked down. And when it gets smoked down, it usually goes back to the original base. And over the last, I don't know, 6 to 8 months, we've been in that original base, basically the 2020 COVID kind of lows base for so many names that now we get to see what management is actually, you're peeling back the layers of the onion, so to speak, and you're starting to see which managements are trying to figure it out and have figured it out and know what the future money regime requires. So that was just a question. That's the way I've been viewing a lot of things. So
I would absolutely agree. I think anytime you see like major market leaders take a 50+% haircut, I would argue that we're resetting when just a lot of the other non-leaders, God, they corrected well more than that. Just from what we saw in 2020. I mean, again, just from a lot of the moves we saw in 2020. Yeah, I would definitely agree with you. I think we were definitely at a phase this year where, like you were talking about SHOP, was that whenever you had brought up SHOP, it's like the market's still kind of weaning out who like where the leadership, I mean, maybe not now, but we have been kind of sorting out the winners and the losers. The weak names still continue to get pounded. We're not in an environment where like, you can just throw darts at the board and everything's, flying. You've got to be, it's still a stock pickers market, but yeah, I would definitely agree with you.
Yeah, what you're talking about is the QE environment, right? And
yeah, right.
You get free money pass to figure out your business, whether it's going to grow or you're going to be like Instacart, which is, been in business for a decade and they needed a pandemic to really shine. And then, people like picking their own groceries ultimately, is what their proof of concept has shown, right? Like there's some obviously who need the groceries, but people like picking their own fruits and veggies and stuff. There's like sense of accomplishment and all that other stuff. So that type of free money society is no longer valid at the moment. Maybe it returns with an economic crisis that everyone keeps talking about. But as of now, I'm sure everyone's had conversations this weekend is like, what do I kind of do with my money? And literally everyone's like, especially as we're getting older, and I'm in my early 40s, so friends who have cash, I was sitting on the sideline, they're like, I'm just putting in treasuries. I'm like, you're probably making a big mistake. And they're like, I don't really care,
Yeah.
at least it's safe.
That's the, yeah, I've.
Right? I'm
That's
getting
the kind of the
six, I'm
feedback I've
getting
heard too.
5-6%. And they're like, and then when I was like, oh, short-term treasuries, the 4-week rolling treasuries, they actually spiked to close to 7%, or a little over 7%. They're like, what? I can get 7% risk-free? And it's like, so
My dad asked the same. He asked the same thing.
yeah, it just seems to be that scenario. And I'm like, you're most likely going to be really happy with the safe asset for a little bit longer, and then you'll be really upset when the market doubles and you're like, crap, I didn't participate.
Yeah.
Well, I posed the question yesterday. You know, I was watching All In podcast clips, and Chamath labeled something. Was like, once I realized I was going to be a billionaire off Facebook, like I was on to a different order of magnitude. And why, paraphrasing, why stay in the rat race when now I can do what the hell I want? And it's, I think one thing that I've been really focused on is what my exit number of getting out of the rat race is, right? And that's all I focus on is how can I get to this number? Not necessarily the quickest, but I have a time frame set in mind. I'd like to be done with that over the next 10 years, and I'm on track to do that. And that will give me sanity, right? That will give me peace of mind. That'll enable me to take care of my family and be well off. And I don't know. I just, yeah, you can sit your money and you can be safe, but there is a thing, there is being too safe, I think, when you can make some risk that can give you some benefit to the upside potentially while you're still able to make it up. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I'm in my 40s too, and I'm not out here just throwing away money in my retirement at, YOLO options, right? That's my small gambling account that I have that just is fun for me. So I think just keeping the eye on eye on the prize and what you're ultimately trying to do. A lot of people don't even start with a goal, right? Like you got to start with a goal or you're never going to accomplish anything. So I don't want to get too in the weeds about, life and how maybe to be successful, but I think coming at it from the perspective of what's that point that I can be all right, my family can be all right, and not have to work so much is better than, well, I'm good to just park my money and whatever happens over the next 30 years is what happens over the next 30 years. I have a hard time letting that be part of my mentality of life.
Yep. And so, like, I think that comes back to, I think a lot of the question I asked is like, I think a lot of our charts had massive resets, and we'll talk about our number one is NVIDIA, right? Like I've been talking about this relentless wave 3, and all I see is I'm going to buy, this was in March, I'm going to buy June puts because I got to give it some time. And you're, oh shit, we're in June and you're probably $150 underwater on those puts.
Well, and we just talked last week during the show that Whisper, I think it was 5%, right? Something like that, around 10% from being at all-time high, and boy, did it blow it out. I just, it's crazy to me that NVIDIA can be all-time high and the valuation actually get cheaper. That doesn't make a lot of sense. But when you look at guidance and, what they're predicted to get over the coming years, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and if you think this is a bubble doesn't usually end at a 200% move or a 300% move, in my opinion. There's some participation in the other names, but there's not a lot. This has just been an NVIDIA story for the most part, right? Like, so bubbles are usually all encompassing of everything that could even sneeze out AI. And AMD still, I know Broadcom broke out as well. AMD still nowhere close to all-time highs, I believe. I'll go monster, right? Like this is, AMD still nowhere close to, Micron is not,
About
Intel is
30%.
not.
Yeah, Intel's still near its lows. I mean,
Yeah.
it's closer to its lows than it is its highs.
But look at the most. TSM is not. ON is not. Like, we can go through the entire list of semiconductors. Okay, OM did finally break out.
Yeah. I was gonna say ON's up there.
Yeah. But did Lam Research also break out? I haven't had a chance to look through every chart detail wise.
No, but it had a monster move last week,
Yeah,
or the last couple
but
weeks.
This to me is, maybe I'm wrong, and I'm happy to be wrong or right or whatever, but this to me is like, it hasn't even taken out its all-time highs, and you're talking about bubbles.
Yeah,
Bubbles take out
right.
all-time highs and then quadruple and quintuple and go bananas, right? Like, let's take Tesla in 2020, for example. That was 1,000% move in a year, 800% move, some nonsense. That's what a bubble looks like, right? And then you have the final, and then that crashed too. And that what Tesla had a 75% move down, and this one was still growing at 37% or whatever. So all these charts had a lot of resets. So if you're looking at technically, if you're looking left to determine right, I think you're probably in the wrong.
You know what? One thing that I was looking at, Salesforce, and they report this week.
Yeah.
I mean, other than, being at a whisper from all-time highs like NVIDIA was, right? It's ultimately the same freaking chart. I'm not saying the same results are going to happen, but look, you've got that big pronounced V and a big move up. And it's just going out there. So to
Can you
me,
zoom out a little bit
on Salesforce,
because you'll see that basically we've been basing at the COVID kind of lows, and this is across many charts, right? Like,
Yeah.
And so now out of these bases, you're finally starting to see some starting to break out. Maybe these join, maybe they don't. It'll be based on earnings and what management says and how well they come to the party. But the base that never got established at the COVID lows has been established over the last 12 to 14 months, 12 to 16 months in a lot of these names. And now if these start breaking out, then you have the rest of the market that kind of, your breadth conversation improves, right? And I still don't, whoever is talking about 7 stocks leading the market is just lazy, right?
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
1,000%.
Is just lazy. They're puppeting whatever is being thrown on FinTwit and using it as their own. It is 7 stocks that might be leading to our gains, or 10 stocks that are leading to our gains, but there's hundreds of stocks that are green for the year, right? And that's something to maybe financials are still kind of nonsense, but they're still holding 2008 highs, right? The base breakout retest is still holding. So for you to be essentially bearish while charts are saying, cool, I see you, but my price action is we're going to hold. We're going to hold. We're going to hold. Shit. 3 of the largest banks in history have failed. We're going to hold. We're going to hold. We're going to hold. Like, when these things start breaking, your narrative should change to, okay, this market is not healthy. But to me, yes, it's leadership showing us that the mega caps are mega caps, man. They're part of this conversation, but there's a lot more participation than your 7 stocks.
Well, and just back to Salesforce for a second. Again, I'm not saying that I'm expecting a move up to 300 off the earnings this week. That'd be crazy. That'd be a 40% increase. But would I be surprised to see it do 15-20% off of blowout earnings? I wouldn't at all. Salesforce has a penchant of reporting at the worst times and at the best times. It seems like every time they report, either the macro environment is the groundwork is laid for it to rip, or the groundwork is laid for it to just die. And I wouldn't be surprised to see it make a move, but then on the other hand, wouldn't be surprised to see it, fall some too. But I kind of like it here. I think it's just very interesting chart wise when you compare it to NVIDIA.
You're on the weekly, right? Add the cloud, the
Ichimoku cloud.
And if you want to talk about breakouts, this.
Oh, it's breaking out. There you go.
So large weekly red clouds are busting through for a lot of names. Put up Netflix here. We talked about this on January 2023 this year. The way Netflix goes in January, the way the markets go in January. Markets are up 33%, I think, for the year. No, sorry, let me rephrase this. My markets, which are the Qs, are up 33% this year. The SPY also has like energy names and stuff, which I think SPY outperformed the Qs last year, right? Because of energy.
Yeah.
And now they're underperforming because of the same energy conversation. But this is Netflix,
there's some
right?
cloud for you.
We talked about the flat weekly cloud. I've been posting about it since November or December of 2022, saying wait till May. And what do you start seeing here? The flat top has passed, and now you're starting to see it break out. It's the highest weekly close in well over a year. Maybe it fails. Maybe you're right. Maybe you have some crystal ball macro thesis that knows exactly when this is going to happen. But that price action is telling me that people want to be long the stock. Maybe you canceled a membership, but they're growing revenue and they're going to continue growing revenue. It's a re-acceleration story in a growth model, which is something you should be paying attention to.
Yeah, Netflix is pretty.
Dude, it's so pretty. Everyone's been talking about this channel, and Bags, thanks for having the channel on here.
Yeah,
this is an ascending triangle. Right? To me, this has been an ascending triangle since the January 2022 candle. We tagged that candle on October earnings. We've been sideways since then. And if we bust that move out of this ascending triangle, it's usually a big pop coming, and it lines up perfectly with the weekly cloud.
Yeah, you can draw that.
Huh? Yeah, you can draw that. We've had multiple touches of the ascending. This is it. So this is when it comes to my conversation is these chart patterns have reset now, right? This is an 80% move down in a mega cap on I would say, I think I have it. I don't have it in front of me right now, but they've grown their EPS 4 or 5 times in the last 6 years, and the price is the same as 2017. And I get it, free money versus non-free money, but EPS is going to grow. They're a free cash flow monster now. They're reining in their costs, and they're re-accelerating their revenue model.
I was teasing before we came on that, the debt ceiling news and the debt ceiling, there isn't a bill that was passed yet, but I was kind of ribbing Gotham a little bit that the debt ceiling deal is going to be a sell the news event, and it could be for a day or two, but ultimately I just think we're finding bears that are reaching for every last straw to hang on to let them get out of their shorts.
It sure feels that way, right? Like every time we have one wall of worry climb, they're like, oh, what about the liquidity? This is when we're going to get liquidity issues. And I'm like, dude, okay, maybe you're right. Maybe this is a brief sell the moment. Maybe this is the top. But right now, price isn't saying that.
Well, it's
maybe
miserable
it
bear
tomorrow.
theory, right? Like they always want it lower. They always want it lower. They always want it lower. And then they won't buy. And then they miss their price target originally. And then they want it lower. Right? Like it's always finding something so they can never buy lower.
Yeah, what's the famous, the 200 week will come and you won't buy it.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? When I see the perpetual bears chirping on social media, the thing that always comes to mind is there's a lot more. Let's just talk like kind of kind of napkin theory here. Supply demand. Like there's a lot more people that are playing the markets that don't want to see these things go to zero versus those that want things to go to zero or want to see a next collapse or whatever it may be. Right?
Yeah, I'm
So
in the
like,
same camp as like, and you have everyone's like, oh, I'm gonna be happy with my 6 or 7%. Remember the duration risk conversation about banks? You're
vaguely,
gonna have duration risk in equities, right? Like how long are you gonna stay out of the markets? What if this just continues going grinding higher for the next 3 years?
Forever.
forever, ever.
Dude, it's designed for up and right. The question is,
Yeah,
when
no
do you
doubt.
want to enter?
I agree 100%.
It's not timing the market, it's time in the market,
Yeah.
as Fisher Investments would say on their commercial.
And that little NVIDIA clip that you posted of me talking, which I don't remember, the reality is it's easy to get in and out. So if you're wrong, you can get out without taking a massive, if you get in the day before earnings and it gaps down 30%, you're just not that person, right? But if you're slowly buying in and you keep a loss, that's not going to ruin you at some big lows. What's stopping you from going in and out?
Yeah, that's a great point, GP. What I don't really understand is the people who act like just because you buy or sell it, you can never rebuy or you could never sell, right? Like the point is to make money. I mean, I've sold some of almost every position that I've ever owned at some point in time, and if I like it, I want to get back in and I just buy it back later, right? And I might not always be able to buy it back when it wasn't maybe the point that I sold it. Maybe I can get it back cheaper. But the point is, right, is I'm looking at it from a chart perspective. And if I feel like something's probably run too hot, I got to take a little profit. If I feel like something is undervalued, I want to buy some. And I just, there's a new bus that comes by every 5 minutes. I don't understand why you got to be so, I don't be an acolyte to a stock name and just hold it forever and not do anything with it. I've never understood that. I mean, unless you've got, same day, zero DTE options, I just don't know why, anyway, you shouldn't trade around if you can.
Yeah, I don't get it, but it all goes to the conversation that I think all of this is, it's mental first and then everything else follows, right? So, and if your life's not right, if something's not working in some part of your life, it's going to show up in your trading.
True that.
And in your investing and everything. So it's really important. It's really great to like acknowledge in life, right? Not just in trading. In my opinion, I'm going off on a long tangent. Is like, we all have fear. It's what we do in the face of fear that has always mattered. And so you can be scared of the markets. You can say it's overvalued, whatever, fundamental. But it shouldn't drive your ways to think with clarity. And a lot of people get that sorted, right? Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I'll give you NVIDIA. I've been talking about NVIDIA since October, right? Watch for the false breakdown. It's a master of false breakdowns to reverse higher. Did I know it's going to be sitting at 394 on May 28th? No clue, right? But it had established almost a year-long base that it broke and reclaimed. Technically, re-enter.
Yeah.
Get stopped out if that low breaks. Stay in the trade. until you have a point where you're like, I think that's a good gain. I bought it at 120. It's at 270. I'm good with it. Or be like, hey, this is a stock that I want to accumulate over time. I'm in at 120. It's at 270. I'll take 10% off or 20% off or whatever it is. But I want to be a part of this story, this investment cycle for whatever, 5 years, 10 years, whatever. So I think there's a lot of, as you said, people don't even think about it. So I think you need to think about what your time horizons are. Your time frames matter.
Hey, Nick, what was the first stock that you ever married?
A penny. Funny thing is, I think I still own it. I'd have to look. It's in a TD
That's your
Ameritrade
baby.
account. Yeah, it was some penny stock. Just a roommate, a buddy in college was like, dude, this thing's, I don't remember even what it was initially. Let me log into that real quick.
Mine was Research in Motion.
RIM was definitely one of them.
RIM was awesome, right?
Yeah.
And for a long time, I'm like, oh, they're gonna be the iPhone. No, they never became the iPhone killer. They have the lead, and then every management call, you just started to see, dude, what are these guys doing?
Yeah.
I mean, I love me some AMD and Lisa Sue. I'm not gonna lie.
Dude, true story. I think my uncle owns NVIDIA from like the low teens.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
So
I love
like,
stories like that.
I was like, well, when it was at like, I think 360 last year, we were talking, I was like, you should probably sell some. He's like, I don't care. I don't need the money. So it can just sit and do whatever it wants, right? Like
Our buddy Randy said WorldCom.
and dude, and all of these stocks, every single one, even NVIDIA in this current cycle, at some point in time can become WorldCom, right? So it's good to be cautious about stuff. I'm not saying that, but dude, that guide was insane. 40% guide higher, right? Like even if he's wrong, it's just that's some balls to say those kinds of numbers out loud.
Yeah.
And sometimes you manifest it, right? You say it, and then if other companies are listening to your calls or they see these numbers, they're like, shit, are we missing the AI bubble or the AI boom, right? Am I not pivoting fast enough? Then so these guys can be on the low end of things too. So you got to keep that in mind here, right? Like NVIDIA is short-term overbought, no doubt, but usually sometimes usually the most hardest move is probably the one that's going to happen. And everyone, dude, I saw so many people going short NVIDIA post earnings.
Really?
Oh yeah,
dude.
Wow.
Like blatantly saying it, and I'm like, you guys are brave.
I mean, I feel like everybody has tried to short NVIDIA since basically early March, right? Like too far, too fast. We can talk about NVIDIA all day, but
Yeah.
I mean, like it just seems like, yeah, I mean, starting with this move here, all along the way, someone has tried to short it. Wasn't it sometime in March that they had that little bitty offering that they all put out there of extra stock? I mean, if you sold on that, then womp womp.
Yeah, and we so I was like, okay, this is one of those moments where they just trapped a bunch of bulls, and then the price action over the next couple of days was like, wait, what? It didn't even fill the earnings gap, right? Like, what? That's some strength.
Yeah, look at that volume. It's insane.
Yeah.
You know how much I love volume, but that's insane.
It makes you think that AMD is going to be, I mean, kind of going forward. I think there should be from a trader's, I guess, perspective or standpoint. Like, I think AMD is going to be the one to focus on.
So I would say Intel.
You think so?
It's so AMD, I agree, but Intel, it's not a great chart. This is buying a knife that's
It's not a great company.
I like I do
falling
kind of
for
like the
decades.
weekly though. Just it's been in a base since October.
Yeah,
Last October.
and it's retesting the base highs from 2000 to 2014, 15 when it finally broke out, right? So if you look at the Intel chart, to me, it looks very similar to what FSLR did after it broke out and then came back to retest a massive base. So as long as it continues to hold the base, I think this is potentially your sleeper, right? That everyone's already given up on Intel. Didn't they even cut dividends and all that kind of stuff? Like
Yes,
everyone's
yes, they did cut dividends. Like I'm not saying you can't make money with Intel. If semis go higher, Intel ultimately goes higher. But this is like turning a battleship around. This is not like, you know, a speedboat that you can turn on a dime. Like this is, I mean, how long has Gelsinger been there now? And that's been him from day one, is we got to get this changed. I mean, I feel like it was 2021 when he took over. So he's in past year two, he's in year three of the job. Sorry, I don't want to get off on, you know, slamming a company here. I think the chart is horrible. I think they are no longer the best in class. They just have a lot of catching up to do, and they're so ginormous that, yeah, you can see some up from here. But do I think all of a sudden this is going from 29 to 83 or 76 quicker than AMD is going to go from 127 to 165? Hell no. Sorry.
shall see. We shall see.
So we've got,
I feel like there's a friendly bet coming here.
we've got 25% more gains for AMD.
So what's his
all-time
all-time highs? Quicker, AMD or INTC?
And Intel is 160 some percent. Like, come on, GP.
So absolute percentages, I think you'll have outperformance from Intel over AMD
What's your time frame?
when it tops out the whole semiconductor move.
So bigger move from today?
Say so Intel's at 29 bang on. AMD is at 127. I think AMD has a less percentage move than Intel. I think they'll both do really well. If you're saying I put 10,000 in 2 years, you're like, it's worth 20,000 or is it worth 25,000? I think if you'll get better percentage gains out of Intel.
Huh.
Not necessarily all-time highs, but that's just me, right? I'm looking at the charts. I love big picture conversations, and Intel coming back and testing a 15-year monthly base.
We'll have to figure out what this friendly wager is going to be.
Sure.
I'm not saying you can't make money in Intel. I think if you have a semiconductor, it's probably going higher. But we'll have to collaborate on what this gentleman's wager is going to be here, GP.
Yeah. So here's
game.
We can have it, but here's my thought process is, if you look at the FSLR chart, it went to 125, 130, and then it had a 50% correction right back down to its base. And this got to about 60 and it's come back to around 30. So about the same, like 50 to 61%, right back into that massive base. And then FSLR went on to do what, 240%, right, in total from that base, from 66 to 232 to 35 or whatever the number is. So it's just something to kind of watch, because I'm a big fan of charts that retest monster based breakouts, hold, and then reverse higher, because I think they have a lot more power when it comes to who's in the stop itself.
Oh, I think if you're buying Intel in the 20s is where you want to do it. Like, I'm not disputing that you can't make money in Intel. We got some questions about Tesla. You're to you two boys' favorites here.
I love Tesla.
We know you love Elon.
I think Tesla's set to go. I think that last that gap low or that gap test back in was that late April? Yeah, late April. That was kind of your fifth wave of this channel. I think your trigger ultimately is through 200 / the 200 day. Like that's
Yeah, I think that's
probably kind of where it takes out 200. That's your trigger to go.
Yeah, I agree.
I think your first sign on Tesla was when you had the false weekly breakdown below that 162 low.
Yeah.
Right. So that was your first sign to, okay, well, they tried to shake you out, but ultimately the weekly closed right back in the range, right? And then so that was exactly a 50% retrace of the move up from 101 to 217 or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever that amount was. It was right around a 50% retrace. So it looks really similar to the NVIDIA chart, but the NVIDIA chart actually had a retrace to the 61 fib, right? So it actually might be stronger. So it actually this move actually might end up being, if not more powerful than the NVIDIA move.
More powerful than the NVIDIA move.
Yeah. So if you're asking me week to week, I can't tell you.
Intel or Tesla?
To Tesla.
From here? Oh yeah. I agree. I think Tesla's in store for another monster fucking move.
I'll short it.
That's fine, dude. That's
I'm not
your
shorting
prerogative.
Tesla. I'm not.
But so
I was just
Elon,
on my soapbox about not being so damn risky, having some risk, but that's like, just
I think
going
short term or like near term, I think it's going after that 256 to 263 gap. That gap fill, I think, is acting as a magnet.
yeah, I would say that. I think it's not getting the so I think first of all, Elon fired a big missile at all your shorts or all the people who have been selling calls to say, guys, it's about time you stop, because I'm a little upset with the stock price action. I'm going to hire a Twitter CEO and I'm going to refocus my energies back on Tesla. When Elon is refocused on his mission, he's a really hard person to
just a decade for self-driving that's been promised every year, but okay.
But he's also changed he's the first manufacturer in 100 years, a car manufacturer, first one, right? He's built a company from the ground up. To not give him the respect of what he's been able to accomplish and to focus on the stuff that he hasn't is disingenuous to me. Is he a great person? No, these guys are ego. But I think when he tells you he's starting to refocus on it, dude, and as soon as he refocused 2 weeks later, what did he do? He announced a partnership with Ford to say Ford is going to adopt the Tesla electrical charging model, right? Which is, they call it the North American standard, but it's not the North American standard because many companies don't.
I'm just trying to balance you guys out. It's an Elon love fest. Somebody's got to throw shots.
I think it's really hard to mess with someone especially Elon, when he's focused. It's like when Bezos was at the top of his game, he was hard to knock off. Like price action might happen differently, but when he was focused on his mission and what he was trying to accomplish, it was really hard to take Jeff off that, right? Even he wasn't a great person. Bill Gates is another example. You don't get a lot of these people, so you have to recognize.
Reed Hastings is a saint.
He stays out of the media. I like him as a CEO in general, but
I'm just messing with you, GP.
I know. So I
know if I brought up Reed too, that would crawl on you a little bit.
No, I don't have. There's no personal stake here. This is, this is not personal at all. It's price action.
It's not personal. I'm just trying to balance you guys out. That's all.
So are you shorting Tesla?
No, I told you I'm not crazy. I'm not psychotic.
I like it. Though, what's been interesting to see is some of the fintech world, right? Square and PayPal have not been looking great.
I kind of like Square here, honestly.
Target, not so great. Home Depot sideways. There's stuff that we'll talk about MDB at some point, but that chart looks fire.
MongoDB looks great.
Yeah, agreed.
What else did you say? You threw off too many. I went straight to block Square.
Home Depot,
Costco.
Costco finally decided to do some sort of.
Randy, renew your membership so the price can go up.
But what did those earnings reaction tell you that just I think first time in years they've had double misses or whatever, and the price action did that.
Yep. Well, Costco's just so well run. I mean,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous.
But do you still remember those people talking about Head and Shoulders in Costco?
Man, people are pulling out chart whatever out of their patterns. You know what, all the time. But MongoDB, yes.
This earnings coming up this week, so this can all change. Obviously, it's still to me in the channel. So if the channel fails, it goes to the bottom of the channel, which wouldn't be great. But it looks phenomenal to me.
I mean, we have some pretty big names this way. It's really a relatively light week on earnings, but Wednesday you have CrowdStrike, Salesforce, C3 AI, Okta. Thursday, you have Zscaler, Broadcom, MongoDB, Lulu, SentinelOne, Asana, Dell. Like there's some names that can really make moves here at the end of this week.
Yeah, for sure.
What were you saying, Nick?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I thought didn't you bring up OKTA a couple weeks back?
Okta, yeah.
That really shaped up well.
Yeah, I didn't like it, and I liked it back again, and yeah, it's doing its thing. The whole cybersecurity sector is doing its thing right now. I mean,
Palo Alto, yeah.
Throw out a name like I love SentinelOne. I mean, Breakout. Hello.
Yeah, and you know what the crazy. While you're just showing these charts, I'm just going to talk a little bit and like think what's interesting is this is all happening while you'll see all the names that outperformed in 2022 kind of start moving down, right? XLU, XLV, XLE, XLP, I believe as well, right? Some kind of major moves down, and you're like, okay, this is rotation.
Yeah.
Rotation station. Who else in the cybersecurity area has had a move? I had like 8 different companies. CrowdStrike looks good.
CYBR.
Yeah, that's the ETF. Oh, CyberArk.
CyberArk.
Yeah. I still like Bug.
Yep, that's volume.
Still like Bug.
Can we look at ExxonMobil?
Sure. Look at the destruction of ExxonMobil. I love doing that. That's like my favorite thing to do today.
So add in the 200 SMA if you can.
Pow.
Right, daily.
Pow.
Right, and so you have this kind of move below that 200 SMA. You have like a bear flag, which was very popular in 2022 in tech, happening here in Exxon, and then broke the bear flag, tried to reclaim the 200 SMA, boom, got rejected with the doji, then tried again, and then got rejected again. So to me, this is one to watch because it could start breaking down here.
I like it.
How long have we been trumpeting the fall off of the XLF and all the oil companies and crude oil?
Dude, they look like poo,
Poo.
right? CVX, COP, MRO, like go through them all.
I'd rather not. I'll go through some of them. That's CVS, which also looks like poo.
Yes.
Head and shoulders.
MRO.
Oxy.
Buffett's
But
gonna
Oxy's
say-
the one that won't fall with the rest of them because Warren Buffett, right? Exxon or Oxy's the one.
Yeah, but
No,
Jeff Bezos owned Amazon too before it got like
I
a
was being facetious.
50% haircut.
I was
The
being-
only thing is that Buffett just buys it straight out. That's always the X factor. I get that.
Did you see Bezos actually bought Amazon
I
this
did.
past week? One
Did he really?
one single share.
Oh,
One share.
I wonder if that's his way of saying, you guys better watch out. I'm back.
One share. I thought that was very interesting. We've got a new visitor, Bob Doe. It's a pleasure, Bob. You've been really active in the chat. He wants to know about Bitcoin, and I said it a few weeks ago. I want to say it again. Bitcoin's coming for 40K. Like that is going to happen sooner rather than later. Don't take my word for it. Do your own research. Go on the internet and find your own charts and whatever. But that is my thesis short term. I would like your guys' take, though. Bob Doe would like your guys' take.
looking at the weekly, it's still kind of within that 26 to 30K channel, this kind of channel. On the daily, I still think it kind of looks a bit head and shoulders ish. It would have to take out kind of that 29K for me to change my tune. As of right now, it's testing the neckline. And again, on a short term, like the measured move on that would just be down to 23.7. So it's not like I'm saying I think it's going to zero or anything.
Right.
I think it kind of wants to pull back and test that kind of that base high between 22 and 24. Although that candle
that's reasonable.
That'd be Wednesday, or I suppose a candle that have been.
I'm in the camp that Bags is in. I think in the next
40K.
3 to 6 weeks, this is probably going to be approaching. It's got a rounding bottom at the base that we talked about a year ago, right? Or was it? I don't even know when we talked about it. It was like that 17 to 20,000 range, right? It's got a nice cup, so to speak. It's got this nice rounding bottom, and it's been forming this consolidation handle. It's getting tighter. It's wicked down into the bottom of that cup. Yeah, look at that. That to me, Nick, is a solid rounding consolidation bottom at the prior highs. This to me, it might have little small wicks down in here for shakeout candles or whatever. But I think you're also on if you add in the Ichimoku cloud.
For you, anything, GP.
You're also getting past the flat top here, and it's approaching the second flat top. So I think it breaks out before, but it could be over the next 3 to 6 weeks. I like it. I like it a lot here. I also think that this is going to raise the alts
Yeah, that move definitely would.
$40K on the way. That's my until proven otherwise, $40K on the way.
Yeah, I think I had measured to about 42. So yeah, we're in the same camp.
Yeah, that's like 41.5, and I just eyeballed that. I didn't really.
I like it.
how-
Do you like Ethereum?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. That's Daddy and Unc. Daddy Bitcoin, Uncle ETH. Like that.
Yeah,
You
similar
can't go-
patterns.
Yeah.
I like it. I think it looks good. I think it's
I mean,
looked good. We talked about this in November. If FTX disaster couldn't destroy these names, you were most likely going to see higher.
yeah.
And Ethereum's up 80% since then.
Yeah, this is the Ethereum Bitcoin relative chart. So I mean, basically, even through 2020, 2021, until you get in the mid 2021 here, Ethereum really didn't overperform Bitcoin. And now we have this huge base. I mean, we basically have a base starting May of 21 that Ethereum has been trading in against Bitcoin. So they're kind of pegged now, it looks like a little bit. So it would be nice to see one or the other reassert dominance against the other. I think that would be a good thing to see. I don't know that we're going to, but Bitcoin versus everything. Bitcoin has shown a little strength this year, but it's kind of, I mean, is it flagging? Is it losing some steam? I don't know. We'll see. It doesn't feel like alt season yet, but if Ethereum could get going, then alt season might be closer. It's hard for me to think that though, since Bitcoin hasn't had a major run yet.
Yeah, I hear you. I think it's to me, it feels like it's going to be in tandem this time, right? So your leaders, Ethereum and Bitcoin, broke out, nothing else followed. So now the breakout happens together. Is what
That's what I was saying. I
Yeah.
think they're pegged. It would be nice to see one assert more leadership, but I don't know that I'm expecting that right now. Bob Doe is just hitting us with our favorites here. Amazon, love it, going higher. The Bags family office leading position right there.
Amazon?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got Amazon.
I was
Amazon?
really disappointed with the Friday rejection. I really thought they were going to take out the post earnings high at 123. But it just hit that pivot at 120, 132, and then just stopped it dead.
Yeah, but I mean, you got all these moving averages crossing over. Like, I mean, even if it came back down into the 110s, like it's not the end of the world here. I think it just collects itself and goes higher.
So yes, you also have the 50-200 golden cross. Usually ends up in a semi-boner candle with a retest, not too far. So if you haven't caught this move here because you've been waiting or whatever, I think it could break out here, but I also think it'll come back and retest that kind of 200-day or 50-day back in. So I like it. I wouldn't be chasing it here. You might get another $5 to $10 up, but it may come back and retest that 121 level is what I would think. So if you don't want it, like oftentimes as traders, we get frustrated. We caught the move and then it's right back down. So if you're one of those traders that gets frustrated, then potentially wait for the retest of that 121 level. That's what I would say.
GP, you're our junk bonds guy. High yield bonds. Bob Doe hit us off with another one.
I like it. It's higher highs, higher lows since the October lows. There's accumulation in this chart. It's happening once again, where's it happening? COVID lows. We're basing at the COVID lows. And we didn't break the COVID lows, we're basing at the COVID lows. So
It's everything lows really for
yeah, it's everything, but the most
Yeah.
recent ones that are predominant in everyone's head is the COVID lows. And so COVID was the end of humanity at some point, and we hit those lows, and we're there right now, and it's not the end of humanity. And so you're seeing accumulation. I think this to me looks good. If it breaks, I would say, to me, I think if it breaks under that 88.50 level, then I think there's room to be very concerned.
Earlier we were talking not being married and not being married to a position, I should say. All three of us are very happily married, Ben.
Yes.
But Baby Bags 1 was born right as COVID was breaking out and the world was shutting down, and I couldn't manage my positions. I couldn't concentrate what was going on. So I had sold a bunch of, I was nearly 100% cash. But I wasn't one that just stood there and was like, well, it's going to go lower. It's going to go lower. I mean, I was pretty quickly back in the market. So I kind of felt like I did dodge a bullet to some degree, but anyway, I just wanted to bring that little anecdote up as we were talking about not being married to your positions. It's being able to be nimble a little bit, right? And figuring out, like, it's okay to be wrong. It's not okay to stay wrong.
Stay wrong. Yeah, totally.
And why not take this opportunity to look at the largest company on the planet and what it's doing.
Microsoft.
Apple.
I know who the largest company is, GP.
So this is a monthly, and that you have Apple.
You want the monthly?
No, our weekly's anything's good on this chart.
All right.
But so if NVIDIA can be at a $1 trillion valuation, you don't think this is going to break over 3 trillion in valuation? You think it's going to be stuck at 182? I highly doubt it.
Nah, it looks like mid 200s for sure.
Yeah. So I like Apple here. I think people are going to try to short the valuation on Apple all the way up. And Buffett did add to his position, by the way, in Apple.
We got less than 5 minutes. Bob Doe's hit us with 1,000 things. I'm going to go with Coin and Baba are his next two that he's asked about. I think Coin's going to do similar to what's going on with Bitcoin. If Bitcoin's going to 40K, Coin's going a lot higher. I kind of like this little inverse head and shoulders setup that's got going. I think we could see a ripper here. But it is under the moving averages, so I would be just a tad bit weary of knowing where my stops would be at.
Where's my William O'Neill fans? It's a 3-week tight.
3WT.
3-week tight, 61.8 fib retracement of the move from the bottom.
So you're saying I should buy some more?
That's up to you. This is not financial advice.
Not financial advice. JFDI is still on Google and ANET and VMware. I see you there, Nick. I see you. You're part of this show. You can bring up these charts at any given loving time.
No, I just don't want to cut anybody off. I'm just throwing them out there. I like Google.
China. I don't know, GP. How do you feel, or Nick? How do you feel about Baba?
I'll pass. Better setups out there.
I agree.
I mean, I like the monthly of all the time frames because it still kind of looks like a inverse, head and shoulders. We have that spike low.
Yep.
But it's still below the 200-day, and yeah, I'll pass.
Better looking setups out there. GP, quick take on that.
Baba?
Yeah.
It's miserable as it's always been. It's just, but Bubba was miserable
Baidu over
for the
Baba.
first 3 years of its IPO as well, right? And then once it took out that 110 level, it went almost like straight to 200, right? It doubled. So lots of accumulation in the chart. I think China has had some struggles, so you're able to work this out. You've had multiple weeks now sitting at the 61.8 retracement. It is no NVIDIA, so my apologies for making that comparison on the chart. It still looks good to me. It tried to break that 80 level and then the buyer stepped in once again. It is something to watch. There's accumulation on the weekly. When it breaks out, no clue. I'm still holding my full position in September calls, so take that for what it's worth.
Nick, you gave us 3, and I know you like them all. So those are all positions that I'm going to say you're bullish on. But which one do you want to look at? Google, ANET, or VMware?
Google I like the most on a shorter time frame. Like I'm kind of looking at it as a pretty much like an island reversal, like that gap lower that tested the 10-day and then it gapped higher, couldn't fill it, and then we engulfed that bar on Friday. I think it's heading higher. I like BMW too. I don't have a position in BMW.
Before you go there, just about the one Google tidbit. This is one of the few charts before you go to VMware that just the strength of Google. This is one of the few charts that broke through the weekly flat top cloud. That is impressive because if you look at charts, it doesn't happen very often. And so for Google to be that strong, I think there's a lot of strength here in Google, and it's insane. Anyway, continue.
Do you think it gives anything back in under that 120?
Google?
Yeah, like short term.
Yeah, you can. Market dies.
Well,
because we're going to zero.
We're going to zero. That of course would happen.
Okay.
All right. Things we like, things we don't like. Don't have to give me both, but give me one. GP, go.
I like Netflix. It's just
that doesn't count.
All right. I actually like Moderna.
Wow.
Oh.
All right. I mean, I think I mentioned this a couple weeks ago. Like, if you can get it around that 120 something, that might be a spot to take a shot at.
It tried to break out. It got rejected. The volume to break out on no news was pretty significant, and then they pulled it back in.
All right.
I think if this reverses higher here with some kind of like bullish engulfing, it's on its way to starting a move.
Wow.
I love MDB. I just love it. Earnings can ruin any chart.
Just to be sure, you like Moderna. This wasn't one that you don't like. This was one you like.
I like it. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm in calls already again. And
all right. MongoDB.
I love this MDB chart. Earnings are coming, so that can obviously change at any point in time if management doesn't do what it needs to do. There's a lot of accumulation in this chart. This is, I think, just starting to break out of the weekly cloud. I've looked at so many charts that I don't know. I don't remember all of them, unfortunately, but no. So
Go.
Yep.
Black. KLAC.
Oh, clack.
Yeah.
All right. All-time highs.
I was happy.
Can't go wrong with all-time highs, right?
Nope.
Look at Dash too.
Dash.
Man, I haven't looked at that one.
This is itching. There's a lot of these charts that are looking like they're about to go, but they haven't gone yet. So
I'm gonna say things that I like, but I'm not saying are a trade. Is a lot of those names that are reporting Wednesday and Thursday, whether it's Asana or it's Salesforce or whether it's SentinelOne or CrowdStrike. I think those are all great names to watch. I like them. Earnings, be careful. I did purchase some Disney, which is just miserable. Purchase some Disney on Friday. Very similar setup now that I'm looking at it to what Baba's got going on. So maybe I'm in it, just in it for the pain, but it held 88, which I wanted to see it do. We'll see if it has anything to the upside, but I'm not going to hold this forever. I don't think this is going to be a get in and get out type of trade for me. I think there's some up in the chart. Things that I don't like. I mean, you know, we mentioned the oils, we mentioned, you know, the health cares. I just think tech and the S&P are going to continue to shine, while things that ran in 2022 are going to continue to get cracked down.
So can we talk about some non-tech names real quick?
Go for it.
Let's talk about Goldman Sachs.
GS.
It's a weekly hammer. Right.
ILO.
So I thought that was pretty impressive. Weekly hammer right underneath the now rising weekly 50 MA. Higher highs, higher lows. And that was on increasing volume there, that hammer. So something to pay attention here for me in terms of breadth participation.
That's a pretty nice setup.
Yeah. The other one, I know you're not going to like me for this one, is Boeing.
No, I like it too.
It has just flagged out here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And right into the weekly 30 moving average, right? Like it just waited for it to catch up.
And if you guys remember, I was like, this looks like this is going to roll over right here. This is where I was talking about the rollover several weeks back.
Yeah.
So it's just held, and it's hard for me to, like, I can't front on that. It is what it is.
And so you also have the weekly 50 MA is starting to curl up. So price should follow that as well now. It's still below the 200-day. So for every time it tries to go higher, it'll probably get rejected and it'll frustrate you because moving averages are still not aligned. This is going to take a long time, but I really like what it's doing here. So like we're talking about breadth participation. I don't just look at tech. I look at a lot of stuff. So I do like some of these non-tech names like Goldman. That was a pretty impressive week from Goldman. And Boeing tried to break down and then reverse higher.
So riddle me this, Batman. Why wouldn't you want to go with something that's a little bit more affordable with like a Morgan Stanley as compared to Goldman?
I don't look at Morgan Stanley chart that often. That's why, right? So like when I look at sectors, I try to look at best of breed. And so Goldman had a great weekly candle, but the JPM weekly candle was terrible, right? So I looked at best of breed, and the two best of breeds in financials are JPM and Goldman. Everyone knows that. So I don't honestly look at the other ones because banks in general are just miserable. And then when you're looking at travel, Boeing is the best, right? Now there's only like two, but Boeing's the best. So I like to look at different sectors and see what's happening in terms of rotation. And you see the XLE rotation, you see the XLU rotation, you see the XLP rotation, you see the XLV rotation. And so that money is not just the question to myself was, is it just going to tech? And it's not just going to tech. There's other stuff starting to show signs of life. And so where is that life coming to exist? And that the life is coming to exist in non-tech names because tech is running a little bit hot. So where will the money come?
Yeah, makes sense.
Oh, another one that was that caught my eye was NEO.
NEO.
I or EO?
The Chinese EV maker.
NEO for $7.70.
So this caught my eye because I think it was flagged on some heavy bullish options activity, not necessarily the chart. So just came across Random mention, just not anything I've done on chart
Oh
work.
shit, it used to be 60 something dollars.
It also used to be 3. So
Yeah. I remember.
what else, man? Lucid looks good to me. Lucid looks good to me as
I
well.
think Rivian looks all right too. I think Lucid and Rivian look all right.
Yeah, so I just literally had this conversation with a couple family members. I'm like, it's up to you, but I think the only competition really for Tesla is Rivian, and Rivian's at the same market cap as Lucid, as in a lot of the other EV space names. So if I was thinking about buying something that wasn't Tesla, it would be the Rivian stock. So I
Rivian.
did buy.
I've got some Rivian in the bags bros capital.
Yep.
And I bought near the lows. So I'm very happy with that purchase for my young sons.
Very nice. So I think this also has the potential to frustrate you while also grinding higher for longer.
Don't look at it.
Yeah,
Don't look at
you
it.
store it. So
Put it away in a closet and just walk away.
and the anecdotal evidence is a lot of the people that I know who were early adopters to Teslas are now swapping their Teslas for Rivians.
Dude, I made this point, I don't know, a few months back, just on my commute to work here in Georgia. I have seen so many Rivian trucks on the road down here.
Up here
is
too.
ludicrous.
Well, they're finally doing delivery.
Well, I think they're made here too, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of them here in Georgia, and it's pretty crazy.
So I like
Are they
this
expensive?
as
Yeah,
a speculative bet. Set it and forget it, right? Buy it between 1168 and probably 16. And then wait to see what it does. But I think if there's any competitor that can actually compete with Tesla, they're potentially the ones. Because I think they're the only ones who are actually look outside of Ford and legacy makers. I think they're the only ones who are sole EV makers that are looking at mass market production, right?
I like the look of them. I just pull up their website.
Yeah, I don't. I think they are ugly, but that's a different
I mean,
conversation.
for sure. Huh.
All right, fellas. It was
Yeah.
a good one. Thanks to everyone for stopping in. Really appreciate you guys. I think we're gonna try to do this on Mondays. So look for us next Monday. What I don't even know what day it is anymore. But I think we're gonna try to do TA reports on Monday. So we'll hit you across the socials and let you know when we're live. But for my counterparts, Jeff DI and Chipaiza, we appreciate you guys. That was very Italian. Sorry.
Yes, I didn't know you were Italian, but I guess today you are.
Yeah, today I am.
Nice, and thank you both for an awesome. What, it's been 16 months since we started this. It's just you guys have helped me refocus what my energies need to be. So really appreciate it. It's been it's been fantastic. So thank you guys.
I would give
right
you
back.
a bro hug right now if I could.
Yes.
All right, guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll try to clip a few of these up in shorter form for you guys to digest and share. Throw them out there for people to see us. We appreciate that. We appreciate your